Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Neighbors keep parking in our lot. I froze them out. This happened around 20 years ago. Our family owned 2 apartment buildings, 3 units each. We lived in 2 of them, rented out the other 4. There is nothing but these 3 flats lining both sides on the road for about a mile. Not all have parking. On the side streets are houses and very little street parking. We had more land than most of these units, since it was also our home. So we had parking for around 16 cars. And everything was fine for literally decades. Then cars started appearing in our parking lot that were not our tenants. I plugged one in one day, went outside to see this jerk drove through our bushes and across the yard to get out. I called the cops and nothing they could do. So I called a tow company and had them put up signs. We'd have to call them to have a car towed. The signs seemed to work and no more random cars. Until New Year's Eve one year. I arrive home and every space is filled. There are even cars on the street blocking in the other cars. I'm beyond pissed and I call the tow company. They cannot do anything for a few hours because they are so busy. We're in the Chicago suburbs. It's below zero out, I have no idea. I dig out the lawn sprinklers and hoses. I run one hose inside the laundry room faucet and turn on the hot water. This way the hose and sprinklers won't ice up. But the cars and ground sure did. 3 sprinklers moved every half hour or so, for almost 5 hours. Every car, every square inch of the parking lot, the street by the cars, encased in ice. I made it a point to spray ice in the locks, between the window seals and glass. In the grills, put away the sprinklers and hoses, and I went to bed. At 4 a.m., furious pounding on the doors, doorbells ringing non-stop. We just smiled and called the police. Waited until they arrived and went outside. Cops were holding back laughter, and these people were told to park here by their friend who owned an apartment several buildings away. The same idiot who drove over our bushes. I pointed to the tow sign and told the people to move their cars or get towed. In our town, cops can ticket on private property with the owner's permission, so all the cars were ticketed. And they were also towed since nobody could get in their vehicle. Wish we had it on video. Next story. Racist Karen tried to kidnap me because I don't look like my mom. Backstory. My mom is Filipino, raised in California, doesn't have an accent or anything, and my dad is a white dude. I look like my dad, pale and don't look Asian at all. This happened when I was an infant and my mom told me about the story because me and my husband are going to have kids soon and she wanted to tell me her racist experience. My family were at the mall with me in a stroller obviously, and in comes Karen. My dad went to the restroom real quick and my mom decided to sit down and wait for him. Karen says, "Oh, how cute she is. How old is she?" "Well, she's 5 months old." The Karen looked at my mom and said, "Oh, are you the nanny?" "Nope, I'm the mother." "You must be the babysitter." Mom, who is in shock, tells her, "No, I'm the mom. I gave birth to her." "But she doesn't look like you at all." "Well, no, but she does look like her father." "Nonsense. The child doesn't look like you and I don't see a father around. You probably kidnapped this poor child." Mom is in total shock and is really scared. Then this witch tries to take me out of the stroller. "What the hell are you doing? That's my baby. I'm going to find this child's real parents." Then Dad comes out and sees what's going on and runs to my mom's side. "What the hell are you doing? Let go of my daughter's stroller." Karen looked at him and then at me, realizing that I look like my dad. "Oh, she indeed does look like her father. Okay, never mind, bye." Then she walked away. And yes, my parents ended up reporting her for attempted kidnapping, but we haven't heard from the police yet. We'll let you know once we do. Next story. Got my freshman dorm leader fired a year after he called the cops on me. I first got to college my freshman year and met the dorm leader, RA at most schools. Like most colleges, the dorm leader was the upperclassman that lived in the dorms and monitored the freshman halls. My dorm leader's name was Julio, fake name by the way. And at first he seemed like a nice dude that minded his own business. He talked about how he would stay out of everyone's business if we would stay out of his. Also, he tried to be the cool dorm leader, and always mentioned to me about how he drank tons of alcohol his freshman year in the dorms. He gave off the impression he really didn't care if we ever drink in our dorm rooms, but to just keep it on the low if we did. I really did not drink much at all, but I appreciated the fact he seemed pretty normal and did not try to rat on kids. During the last week of October of my freshman year of college, I had one of the hardest weeks of my academic career. I was a biochemistry major taking some pretty tough classes and had 3 exams that week. At the end of the week, a friend I had recently made down the hall invited me to his dorm room to watch an upcoming MPA game. As we were watching the game, he had a bottle of vodka and gave some to the guys in the dorm. Being a naive and stupid freshman kid, just trying to make some friends, I took 1 shot of vodka and continued to watch the game. As we're watching the game, one of the guys in the dorm spills a bottle of soda and rushes to the bathroom to grab some paper towels. As he walked out the dorm room, Julio walked by and noticed the bottle of vodka. He laughed and said something of the sort of, "I remember when I was a freshman, haha. Just try and keep it down." We thanked him and told him to have a good night. It seemed like a normal conversation and nothing out of the ordinary. 30 minutes later, we heard a knock on the door and 2 policemen showed up with breathalyzers. They told us they had received a complaint from Julio about underage drinking and a party being thrown in the dorm room. Remember, it was 3 guys watching a Lakers game on a Thursday night at 8 p.m. I ended up getting a minor in consumption charge. Had to do 20 hours community service, a reflection journal, and appeared to the Judicial Affairs Center at my college about my supposed drinking problem. I'm not blaming the officer for giving me a ticket, but I was pretty upset that Julio, who always talked about getting crab-faced freshman year in the dorm, called the police right after he essentially gave us the okay for the night. A few weeks later, I saw Julio and straight up asked him why he decided to rat me out. Specifically, I just asked him why he didn't just tell me to head back to my dorm if he had a problem with the alcohol, instead of calling the police right after our conversation. And he responds word for word with, "You made a decision and had to suffer the consequences of that decision." After that incident, I never really talked to him, but he always tried to be buddy-buddy when he saw me in the hallway. Anyway, I eventually left the dorms and moved off campus for my sophomore year. I had decided to rush a fraternity my freshman year and ended up meeting some really nice guys. I have never been the fraternity type, but I went to a smaller college where fraternities are a lot different than most places. During the 2nd semester of my sophomore year, my fraternity was taking a new pledge class. One day I received a text from Julio saying one of the guys pledging your fraternity has been caught dealing alcohol to another freshman in the dorms. I thought I would let you know. Turns out Julio was a dorm leader for a freshman pledging my fraternity and ratted him out to Judicial Affairs as well, thinking the term dealing alcohol was the lamest and funniest thing I have ever heard. I sent that to our fraternity group me and everyone laughed about it. About a week later, that kid pledging our fraternity came up to me asking about the message I received from Julio. Essentially, a pretty similar thing happened to him like what happened to me. Julio found out he had given another kid in the dorm a bottle of wine and reported it to the police. This kid ended up getting a minor imposition and had to speak with Judicial Affairs. This is where the story gets hilarious. In his meeting with Judicial Affairs, The kid pledging our fraternity told the judicial affairs guy that his dorm leader, Julio, was now a senior at this point, had texted me about the charges pending against him. Apparently, it is a huge violation to discuss pending charges against a freshman in your dorm to a third party. The judicial affairs guy told him that if he could prove Julio was discussing this charge with a third party, aka me, he would receive severe sanctions. Basically, if I sent that text to the judicial affairs people, Julio would be in a ton of trouble. So, I sent that text that night to the judicial affairs people. After that, I did not hear anything about what happened to Julio and had honestly forgotten about it. However, nearing the end of the school year in my sophomore year, I saw Julio at the dining hall and came up to speak to me. He tells me a story about how he knows I was the one who ratted him to the judicial affairs, how he ended up getting fired from his dorm leader position, lost the scholarship money his dorm leader job provided him, and overall how crappy his life has been since he got fired. After going through his entire sob story, he asked me, "Why did you do that? This could have been handled completely differently. I didn't have to get fired, and I could have kept my scholarship money." I looked him dead in the eye for what seemed like 30 seconds and said, "Julio, you made the decision and had to suffer the consequences of that decision." Next story. Can't expense the fuel for driving myself, but I can book a limo? Okay. 15 years ago, when I was a precocious young IT tech, I used to fly domestically once or twice a month to the company's new factory to fix something or other, or help with a big install in an area that was being opened. I would often volunteer for these trips, something the older guys with kids appreciated. They were past their traveling days, or at least past wanting to wake up that early. It often involved a 6:30 flight up, back down 18:30, the same day. I did not mind as I got overtime beginning when I left the house, ending when I got home. When I first started doing these trips, my girlfriend would drop me off at the airport, and it's only 5 miles from my house, and she would be up early for her commute, or to head to the allotment anyway. The next trip, I booked a local minicab to take me, and he was there to pick me up as well. Cost to the company has now gone from £2 each way to £10 for the morning journey before 6 a.m. and £7 for the return. You shouldn't be claiming for this. We have an account with the airport transfer service. I'll do it this time, but next time, book with the right company. I go to the departmental secretary. I have my boss' email which I forward to her. She explains the airport transfers company on account is luxury limousines. Not big stretch American cars for prom night, but proper luxury vehicles for executives. We comply with my boss' wishes. Next trip, a man arrives at my entourage house in an up-and-coming area of the city in a BMW 760 IL. Dressed in a suit and a proper chauffeur's hat. He takes my luggage, opens the door for me, checks the temperature, asks if I want music, and I half expect a hot towel and a bowl of warm mixed nuts. That evening he meets me at the arrivals with a little printed sign, Mr. Mitchell, Truck Company, and walks me to the BMW in the expensive short-stay car park. This is the one and only time someone's done that for me, and I've flown 20 to 30 times a year for my entire life. I'm still in my now dusty workwear, cargo trousers, branded polo, steel-toe boots. Being driven home in a long wheelbase 7 Series with a chauffeur with a hat. Secretary tells me those journeys cost the company £120, which will be charged back to the department at the end of the month. When boss finds out, he hurriedly asks the secretary to create a new policy, one that allows me to at least book a local minicab. It is only when we need to lug some heavy gear up to the site that boss allows us to expense fuel on our own cars. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.